Florida is widely considered to be one of the best states to visit for theme parks and roller coasters, and because of that, over the years, many beloved and a few infamous coasters have come and gone. Today we will be looking at some of the most notable coasters that no longer are operating, as well as a few that have been relocated to and from Florida. So with that said, let's get right into this. To begin, I will start with Starliner, a Philadelphia Toboggan Company wooden coaster that opened at Miracle Strip Park in Panama City, Florida in 1963. This ride stood at 70 feet tall and had some great airtime moments and was said to be unexpectedly smooth throughout its lifetime. Starliner also featured a tunnel where you would enter the mouth of a dragon when it operated at Miracle Strip, which in my opinion is actually pretty cool. After 41 years of operating, Starliner was removed in 2004 and would eventually be relocated to Circus Gardens in Winter Haven during 2007 and would once again be closed and removed in 2008. Circus Gardens has since become Legoland Florida, and Starliner would be put in storage in Tampa Bay. Sometime after being put in storage, the owners of Pier Park in Panama City wanted to bring back the attraction as many people missed it, so the plan was to rebuild Starliner and reopen it. Later though, that plan changed and it was decided that Great Coasters International would create a taller, faster version of Starliner, but this never came to be, and Starliner still sits in storage in Tampa Bay. Maybe one day it will return, but for now, it doesn't look like anyone will be riding Starliner in the near future. Next, we have the three coasters that operated at Circus World, which was later renamed to Boardwalk and Baseball in Haines City, Florida. The first of which was Zoomerang, an aero shuttle loop that featured a forward launch, a vertical loop, and a backwards launch. It opened in 1977 and was originally called Double O and featured an elevator that took passengers to the loading platform for its first few seasons of operation, which is something pretty unique. The Aero Shuttle coaster was renamed Flying Daredevil at one point and then was renamed to Zoomerang. Unfortunately, in 1990, the park closed along with Zoomerang, but the ride would end up being relocated to Fun Spot Park in Indiana. The Aero Shuttle Loop would open as Afterburner in 1991 and continued to operate until 2008 when both it and Fun Spot closed. In 2017, Zoomerang would finally be dismantled 9 years after closing, and the parts left were taken to Frontier City in Oklahoma to be used as parts for Diamondback, which is another launched Aero Shuttle Loop, and currently is still operating. The second coaster at Circus World, Florida Hurricane, is a wooden coaster that opened in 1978 and was originally named Roaring Tiger and later was called Michael Jackson's Thrill Coaster before it became known as Florida Hurricane. In 1990, just like Zoomerang, Florida Hurricane closed with the park, but was relocated to Magic Springs in Arkansas in 1992, and opened as Arkansas Twister and operated until 1996, when it would stand but not operate until the coaster was renovated in 2000 in order to make the ride smoother and run better. Arkansas Twister is still operating to this day. The last coaster I have to talk about from Circus World is Wiener Looping, which is the only portable Schwarzkopf shuttle loop that was ever built, and before opening in Florida, the ride operated for a year in 1982 at Wiener Prater in Austria before it opened at Circus World in either 1984 or 1985, and it had a pretty short run as it was relocated before the park's closing to Flamingo Land in England, where it was renamed Bullet, and it operated there from 1991 to 2005 and then was once again relocated, this time to Selva Magica in Guadalajara, Mexico, where it has been operating since 2013 under the name Bullet. The ride itself has a tire-propelled launch, one very intense vertical loop you go through twice, and two 131-foot-tall spikes. Python was the first coaster ever built at the amazing park Busch Gardens Tampa, And opening in 1976, this Aero Looper featured a double corkscrew and was one of the first coasters to feature inversions. And though Aero Loopers like this one are generally not well received nowadays, there were many fans of Python who were sad to hear that it would close in 2006, 30 years after opening, and shortly after the ride's closing, Python was swiftly demolished. Another large coaster that once operated at Busch Gardens Tampa was Gwazi, the GCI racing wooden coaster that opened in 1999. One side was the lion side and the other was the tiger side. The tiger side would end up closing in 2012 and the lion side would close in 2015. This coaster was said to be pretty rough and one of the weaker GCI creations, though it certainly did have its fans. After closing, the Millennium Flyer trains on Gwazi were converted into the trains found on Invader, a GCI family wooden coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg in Virginia. As of when I'm recording this video, Gwazi is being converted into the RMC Hybrid Iron Gwazi that looks to be the best coaster in all of Florida and one of the absolute best coasters in the entire world. Another coaster at Busch Gardens Tampa is Serpent, and this ride actually was relocated from Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and it actually operated at the Virginia Park from 1996 to 2003, and for a short while it was named Izzy after the mascot of the 1996 Atlanta Summer Olympics before it became Wild Mouse. So if you are thinking of skipping out on this Wild Mouse coaster with a unique history, you may want to think again. A few months ago, Fun Spot America in Kissimmee opened Hurricane, an E&F high miler coaster, and this one in particular has operated at two different parks. It originally opened at Celebration City in Branson, Missouri in 2003 and operated at the park as Jackrabbit until the park closed in 2008, which would also be when the legendary GCI wooden coaster Ozark Wildcat closed. Jackrabbit would then be relocated to Wild Adventures in Georgia, where it would operate as Viking Voyage from 2010 to 2018 when the park decided to get rid of the ride. This coaster is said to be very intense and looks to have fast pacing and strong airtime, but it is also said to be very rough, so the reception for this ride has been pretty mixed. In 2000, Boomer's Family Fun Center in Dania Beach, Florida, built a large-scale wooden coaster called Dania Beach Hurricane. This ride was loved by Florida coaster enthusiasts as it was said to be a high-quality wooden coaster that was relatively smooth and had some great airtime moments. Unfortunately, in 2011, the beloved wooden coaster was closed, and Boomers would also eventually close in 2015. In 2016, both the coaster and the park were demolished in order to build Dania Point, which is a mall that has opened but is still a work in progress. This ride, while long gone, still was able to provide great memories in its 11 years of operation, and it is an attraction that is sorely missed. The next coaster I'll be talking about is Sandblaster, and this Pinfari Zyklon first opened in 1975 and operated at 6 separate parks in 6 different states during its lifetime. 5 of the 6 parks that ever operated the coaster are now defunct, and the only park to still exist that once operated Sandblaster is Del Grosso's amusement park in Pennsylvania, which was where Sandblaster operated as Zyklon from 1987 all the way up to 2003. After 2003, Del Grosso sold the ride to Blue Diamond Park in Delaware, where it operated until 2007. After years of sitting in storage, the park decided to list the coaster for sale on eBay for $225,000 in 2010, but it did not sell for another few years. In 2012, Boardwalk Amusements in Daytona Beach, Florida, purchased the ride and it began operation in 2013. The coaster became known for having questionable and pretty sketchy operations. Many times during 2017 and 2018, the coaster failed safety inspections as the ride apparently had damaged bolts, cracked bracings, excessive corrosion, and some sort of electrical issue. On June 14, 2018, Sandblaster passed an inspection that had kept the ride closed since May of that year. That same day, one of the worst coaster-related accidents in recent memory occurred. Sandblaster derailed, causing 6 people to be hospitalized, and 2 people fell from the cars 34 feet above the ground. Fortunately, everyone in the incident was able to survive their injuries, but obviously for the passengers, that was a horrible experience to go through. Sandblaster has not opened since the incident and is currently standing but not operating along with the park, and I do believe that Sandblaster will eventually get scrapped completely and will never reopen again. When I talk about unfortunate events like this, I feel that it is my job to tell all of you, the viewers watching, that roller coasters are indeed very safe, as rides are always built with safety in mind, and coaster accidents are extremely rare, especially ones to this degree. With that being said, if you are at a lesser known park and you do notice some sketchy operations or maintenance, such as welding of track the same day as the ride is operating, then it would be wise to avoid riding the coaster at the park. The last coasters I'll talk about are the Dragon Challenge duo, Chinese Fireball, and Hungarian Horntail. These rides are 2 of the most well-known and missed defunct coasters of all time, and it is easy to see why. These fantastic B&M inverts originally opened in 1999 as opening day attractions in the Lost City continent of Universal's Islands of Adventure, and were originally named Dueling Dragons. The blue coaster was called Ice or Ice Dragon, while the red coaster was called Fire or Fire Dragon. What made these inverts unlike any others was that they dueled, and both sides had different layouts with different elements from one another, making each side its own unique experience. In 2010, the 2 rides would be rethemed to fit in with the wizarding world of Harry Potter, which is when the name of the duo was changed to Dragon Challenge, with the red side being renamed Chinese Fireball and the blue side being renamed Hungarian Horntail. 2011 was the year that started the downfall of Dragon Challenge, as on July 31st of that year, a man got hit in the eye with an object that came from another train, causing him to lose sight in that eye, and 12 days later, on August 11th, another rider suffered injuries to his face and legs from objects hitting him. Because of these 2 incidents, Universal decided to stop Dragon Challenge from ever dueling or running simultaneously again, and they also added metal detectors in 2015. This obviously was a big blow for the ride's popularity, and it had lost its uniqueness, which turned off some visitors, but still many people enjoyed Dragon Challenge due to its intense ride experience. On September 4th of 2017, Dragon Challenge closed in order to make way for a new attraction. That new attraction would end up being the amazingly themed Intamin family launch coaster, Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure, that is said to be a truly incredible coaster that is very immersive and fun. Hungarian Horntail and Chinese Fireball are the only 2 B&M coasters to have ever been completely demolished, and at their peak, these 2 coasters created a truly unforgettable experience that will live on in the memories of those who rode it. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and let me know in the comments below if you've ridden any of these coasters and what you thought of them. Also, comment down below which state you want me to do for the next video, and the comment with the most likes will be the one I do next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time here on Coaster Hour.